how to handle friendships in the workplace. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Shut Up and Work podcast. I am your host, the coach, and along with me is my other co host, SJ. She's in the house today. And on today's topic, we're going to discuss how to handle friendships in the workplace. So stay tuned. And real quick, if you like our material, you like everything that we're doing, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And make sure when you subscribe, hit that notification bell. So anytime we post something, you will be alerted and you can watch it. Now, on with the topic at hand. All right, SJ. So let's talk about how we should handle friendships in the workplace and what we should do. And everybody, make sure you stay tuned towards the end as we will offer some tips and gems on this topic. Go ahead, SJ.
Hi, Coach. It's pretty funny that you initially, when we were talking about friendships in the workplace, you said something about being cautious. And this is ultimately what this topic is going to be about. I need everybody to remember that you are going to work to make money. You are going to work to make money to support yourself and your needs, whether that's your family, whether it's just yourself, whatever it is that you do outside of work, your interests, etc. But that is your purpose in going to work. Not very many of us have the luxury of going to work because we want to have fun or because we enjoy it. So in terms of being professional, friendship, although a lot of times it's the first thing that we think of because we spend a lot of time with these people, it really should be the last thing on our minds. And we're going to get into why that is.
Yes, ma'am. Preach on.
First of all, when it comes to priority, again, you're going to work to make your living, to support yourself, your needs, your lifestyle. So while you do want to get along with people and you can be friendly with people, and let's distinguish the difference between being friendly and considering somebody a friend. Should you trust your coworkers? Should you confide in them? How much are you willing to put your livelihood at risk by trusting them? These are all things that you need to consider. It's good to just consider what other people need to know about you and what they don't need to know about you. You can go out to lunch with your coworkers. You can even go out to an occasional happy hour. You can celebrate events, birthdays, etc. But again, everybody is there to earn a living. So can you count on these people to be loyal to you? If it comes down to somebody getting fired, you cannot expect another person to sacrifice themselves for your job. And you shouldn't. Would you sacrifice yourself for somebody's job? And I know there are some people out there who would say yes. And those people are probably younger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a difference between having principles and being loyal. If something is going on at work that you don't agree with and it's against your principles and you want to speak up, that's fine. And if it's affecting somebody else, a coworker or somebody that you're friendly with, that's also something else to consider. But I'm sure you've seen memes all over the internet. A lot of people have also given this advice. Just because you spend a large amount of time with the people that you work with, I mean, we do spend usually 40 hours plus a week, does not mean that you truly know these people. You don't know what's going on in their homes. You don't know what they truly think. I'm sure you see them in some situations behaving in ways that you don't necessarily agree with when it comes to work, whether they're being overzealous and they're too loyal to the company to the point of kind of putting themselves at risk.
Yep.
Or whether they don't have the same work ethic that you do, and maybe they don't work as hard as you do, and you have to pick up their slack, or you have to cover for them. Definitely, if you're doing something like punching in for somebody else or clocking them out, covering all those things that can, again, put your ability to earn a living at risk, you need to reconsider that. I mean, it's your choice. You're an adult. And of course, just be ready for whatever those consequences are. But you know, we as a society have moved towards being very work focused. And that's understandable.
Yes, and let me step in here just a second. So, real quick for the audience out there, from what SJ has explained and what she is saying, I want to give y'all a quick experience that I had in my work area, and it was my last job, which I was an occupational safety and health specialist for the Army Corps of Engineers. So, one of my coworkers, now luckily he wasn't in the region where I worked. He was in the region that was further north, like 200 miles, 4 hours away, or however you want to describe it. But at least I would say every quarter we will have to fly to our home office where our bosses were located, and we would have a meeting, a safety meeting. So this gentleman that I'm going to describe, when you first meet him off the back, he comes off as a great, nice person, a gentleman, and he meets and talks with you and do all these things. And then when the meeting starts, he's always bucking against the boss. He's always trying to find and create an argument. Now, was some of his arguments legit? Sure, because I thought some of the things that we did out in the field, our bosses couldn't relate to or they didn't see on a daily basis. So, trying to explain to our bosses what was actually happening in our locations when we went out to do an inspection and what really goes on and what is said from our home offices or locations, they they were not trying to hear it. They were trying to ignore it because they look at these people who are in charge of these regional offices, they give them the benefit of the doubt and think that they're good people. So anyway, back at the story at hand. So this gentleman, when there was a break or if it was after work or something, he would want to hang out with you, and his whole intention of hanging out with you is to get information from you. Hey, how's your area going? He wants to hear negative things, or he wants to hear you say something about the boss or just something in that nature. And even if it's just a tiny thing, even if it was just a suggestion, such as,
Oh, well, maybe our boss could put a PowerPoint together instead of just verbally talking to us or having us come up with ideas.
he would run with that. So the next morning, when you go back to the meeting with the boss, he would already be there at the meeting. He'd be the first person to show up. He don't give a damn if it's 4:30 in the morning. He will be already there at the meeting, and then he would already sit down with the bosses and then told him exactly what you said the night before or the evening before or during lunchtime. And then he will paint the picture and make it more negative. So now the boss is looking at you sideways in the meeting and asking you,
Hey, did you have something to say?
and then you tell him,
Oh, yeah. What about doing the PowerPoint, or what about doing this, or what about doing that?
and then all of a sudden you and the boss are having a little bit of verbal back and forth jousting because you're trying to explain what you actually said, and they're thinking in their head that this SOB, they're taking his word of what he interpreted in what you said and put it in his own words. So that's one thing that you need to be careful with. As SJ was saying, you need to go to work, make sure that you're being professional, and it's okay to be associative, to talk to your coworkers and things on that nature. But when they start talking about other things besides work, like, oh, well, the boss, she did this. I think that was stupid. She did that. Once it start going a little bit left, then please remove yourself from that situation. Shut that conversation down immediately. Because at the end of the day, that that other person said something bad about the boss or another coworker, but I can guarantee you by the end of that day or the following day, your name is going to be the one that's in the fine print, as I used to say, in the Times paper, like the New York Times, the LA Times. Your name is going to be up there stating that you were the one that said this about so and so, or you were the one that said something about the boss in that situation. So I just wanted to interject that kind of experience. And I know going forward, that individual that I'm talking about, he would get mad. He would get so angry at me because I wouldn't tell him anything. And anytime we had to go to those meetings, I would separate. I wouldn't even go to lunch with everybody else. That's how bad he was. If he was going to lunch with everybody else, I would say, "Oh, hey, I need to make a phone call or I need to call home or something like that." Luckily, where the boss's office was located, it was located in my hometown. So my boss understood, like, hey, after the meeting, I'm going to drive over and go see my mom or go see my brother or sister or something like that. So the cool part about that, I was able to remove myself out of that situation so he couldn't use me as a pawn to blame for something that he did or something that he said. Go ahead, SJ.
Yeah, that's a great point, Coach. I wasn't even necessarily talking about the people who are purposely and intentionally trying to use information against you.
Yeah.
More just people who, just because we work with people does not mean that we have really anything in common with them.
But
Doesn't
he
really
would,
mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. But he would, the whole point of me explaining that experience is that he would try to be friends with you. That's what I was saying in the beginning. So
Uh-huh.
when I first met him, he was trying, oh, hey, do you like to go hunting? Do you like to do this? So, and just like you said earlier, when you were explaining, you go to work as a job to pay for your stuff, not to go out there and necessarily make friends. That is not the first priority. And that's what I was first explaining. Sorry, it may have got lost when I was telling the story, but I was just basically explaining how the guy would try to befriend people first and try to get to know them and want to go out to eat with them and stuff, and then would try to bait people in saying things about other coworkers or the boss, and then he would use that to run back to the boss. And this same individual, this last thing, he would be the bastard all the time that whenever there was awards coming out, he would get them. He would get all these awards and plaques. So I just want to throw that out there. Okay, go ahead, SJ. I'm sorry.
No,
I just wanted
no,
to clarify that
absolutely.
point.
No, you make a great point because there are a lot of people like this. They're brown nosers. They're going to use information against you. They're going to kiss up to the bosses and the managers to try to get ahead. I've had a similar experience as well. Actually, after I left a job, a former coworker was really interested in what I was doing. And I came
Yep.
to find out that she was going back and reporting to all of my old colleagues exactly what it was that I was doing. And
Exactly.
they have no need to know that.
Exactly. So it is a awesome point that you're bringing up, and I think this is very important for people to know. Is you should not is and especially if you just met somebody, if you just started a job or you started working in a new department, it's like, goddamn, get to know me first by my work ethic before you go and start asking little stuff like,
Hey, you want to go hunting or there's a party at my house this weekend.
try to get to know the coworkers first and know what they're all about and what they're doing and what they stand on and what their premise is in the job so you can make that decision. Okay, go ahead, SJ.
Coach, you are so absolutely right. You need to think of it in terms of this. If you put as much effort into finding friends outside of work as
Yep.
you do inside of work, you
Yep.
will have much better relationships because you will connect with people that you actually have something in common with, not just people that you are in proximity with. And I'm going to give you a few tips. In these situations where somebody is trying to befriend you, Again, be friendly, but be cautious. Talk about casual things, sports, entertainment, things that you've seen on TV, something interesting that you've read, but remain private. You don't need to tell everybody what's going on in your home, with your family, with your children. And I really need y'all to understand this. When you were sick, you don't need to explain that. You do not owe it to anybody, not even to HR, to explain that. You simply say, I need time off. I'm sick.
Yep.
And that's all there is to it. Now, if you're going to get further in depth, if you need FMLA or extended time off or something along those lines, then that's fine. But you'd be surprised with how many employers abuse the information that they have. Nobody should be talking about,
Oh yeah, Karen is out with the flu and she's going to be out with 2 weeks. She's
Mm.
going to be out for 2 weeks, or so and so is, pregnant. And
well, maternity leave is a little bit different, but my point is that you don't have to divulge all of that information. Sometimes because there's a silence there, you feel the need to fill it with noise and speaking. Work on that. Get over that. Talk about casual things with your coworkers. Like I said, be friendly. Don't gossip at work. I know that it's entertaining, but you never know what somebody's motives are and how they're going to use that information and how it may affect not just your current job, but also your career.
Yep.
You may end up applying for a job somewhere else, and they may have worked with somebody that you currently work with, or a manager, or anything along those lines. So if you're looking for friendships, pursue interests and friendships outside of work. Don't try to cultivate them there, even though that's where you spend a large part of your time.
Right.
If you want to go to somebody's party, that's fine. I'm not saying, because I'll be honest, Coach, I think that you're probably a little bit more strict with this than I am. And I had to learn the hard way. I've always had a very good work ethic. I've always worked very hard. I've always been very responsible. I started working professionally at a younger age than a lot of my friends, but I also liked to go out. And
Mhm.
everybody was so captivated with me being a party girl.
where did SJ go last night? What was she doing? How late did she stay out? Who did she meet?
Mhm.
That was overshadowing my work product, not because
Yes.
of what I was doing, but because it became entertaining. And I had to learn the hard way that now my coworkers and even my managers are focusing on that instead of what I'm actually doing and contributing at work. And that was my fault because I allowed them into my life in that way. Even though I wasn't necessarily going out with them all the time, 1 or 2 people knew what I was doing, and I would tell them little anecdotes and stories about what was going on. But who knows how much they were exaggerating those, or
Mhm.
twisting them, or even straight out lying. And again, this came back to haunt me because now my managers are always watching me.
Oh, I wonder if she was out late. I wonder if she was doing this. I wonder if she was doing that.
Mhm.
So you need to keep your private life private. You don't need to tell everybody what is going on with your children or what is going on with your relationship. Cultivate those friendships outside of work. Now, if you've been in a workplace for a very long time, of course, it's inevitable that there are going to be some people that you gel with. But I hope that you know at this point that getting to know somebody takes time. If you are fortunate enough to have the gift of discernment and to be able to, and you're a good judge of character, then that's wonderful. But this again is where you earn your money, and that money supports you, your life, and whomever else you need to take care of. So just keep those priorities in sight.
That's
Now,
right.
we're not even going to get into dating and relationships at the workplace. We're going to have to save that
Oh,
for a
no.
future podcast.
Yeah, that will be like a book. Yeah, because working for the federal government, you see that stuff a lot. But as you said, that's probably like a trilogy of segments we would have to do. Yeah, great points, SJ. And as you said, I just want to highlight those few more things again is number one, go to work in order to do the job, perform your task, and leave and do whatever you need to do outside of work. And I wouldn't suggest, just some tips, I wouldn't suggest, if you are starting a new job or you move into a new department, do not go in there and immediately start trying to look for friends and trying to hang out. Look for acquaintances and get to know your coworkers first before you do anything. See how they react around you. See how they react when the boss tells them to do something. See how they react in the meetings that y'all have. See how they act when you and that person are out somewhere on the project alone. Do those things before you go and just say, hey, this is my buddy or whatever.
See how they talk about your other coworkers.
Exactly. And that's the point that I'm getting at with these things, is see how they are acting and what they are saying. When you are alone with them, when you are in meetings with them, when you are on a project with other people, always see their actions and what they are constantly talking about. Another tip is to, whenever you are with a coworker or whatever, and something is going left, and not necessarily a fisticuffs situation, a physical altercation or anything in that nature. Just if you see them getting into an argument with somebody and is name calling or is this a bunch of verbal jousting going on, then try to remove yourself from that situation if it has nothing to do with you. Or try to calm the situation between your coworker and that other person. Try to calm it, but if you can't calm the storm, get the hell away from it. Get out of it, because immediately they're going to put you into the story. And if it's something that you didn't do and you don't want to be involved in, then trust me, you need to remove yourself from that situation and avoid your coworker going back, putting your name in it and saying that you did such and such to this person to escalate that situation or to make that situation worse. So those are my tips of what to do to kind of keep yourself grounded and avoid just going to work looking for a friendship or looking for someone to date or whatever is your mode of operations. SJ, you have anything else?
Just agreeing with you, Coach. That same energy and effort that you're putting into the people at work, you can put into people outside of work in your community.
Oh, and that was a good tip too, is, get involved in things that you do outside and keep your outside stuff that you are doing. I would keep that at a minimum at work. And as SJ mentioned earlier, if you like sports, the other person likes sports, every time y'all meet up, y'all talking about sports, then maybe after you've been on the job a while, maybe 6 months to a year, and that person say, hey, we want to go to a ball game, then maybe an activity like that. Because if you and that person both have that interest, then more than likely y'all are going to discuss that game or sports or something in that nature. You're not going to bring up things that are going on at work. So you may have a thing there or a connection there, is if you and other people, if y'all like the same thing and have a little bit of passion or have a strong passion for it, then yeah, it might be something that you can hang out, but I will still limit that one activity with that person. That will be my sports buddy. Hey, when I want to go to a football or a basketball game, I'll call this person up and we'll go.
Words
So
of wisdom.
yes, so please take heed. And also, with that being said, we ask you guys again to please like, share, and subscribe. If you love what we're doing and you love our content, and we want to give you guys plenty of more content, then please, by all means, pass this along, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we are constantly in the lab operating and coming up new ways to grow our channel and to innovate so you guys can enjoy this content. And hopefully this content is helping you guys out there in your daily struggles on the job or just in life, period. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to the Shut Up and Work podcast, and we will see you next time. Take care.